there guys, I'm John Campea. Thanks for visiting my movie vlog, and this is my quick review of the brand new Marvel Cinematic Universe film, the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay, so let me start with a couple of big picture items here, okay? First of all, not gonna bury the lead. I like this movie very much. It is a fun, entertaining, and charming film that in some specific ways is actually better than the first Ant-Man, but I think overall, I kind of like the first Ant-Man a little bit better. That's not a knock on this film, because if you guys have been watching me for any period of time, I love the first Ant-Man film, and I really do quite enjoy this one, but I think the first one is just a little bit better. The second big picture item here is this. We've heard Kevin Feige and director Peyton Reed say that Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be more of a self-contained story, and guess what? It really is. This is a self-contained, standalone movie. Don't expect 5 other Avengers to start showing up here. This is a movie about Ant-Man and the Wasp. It is a true self-contained story. Now, in the spirit of that, we've also heard them say before that most of the events of this film take place before the events of Infinity War, and I'm going to tell you right now, pretty much the entire movie takes place before the events of Infinity War. It's nestled in between the events of Captain America Civil War and Infinity War, and that's kind of where this movie lives. Now, getting into the review, normally what I like to do is talk about the good things first and then some of the weaker things later, but I want to end on the strong stuff. So let me start off with some of the things that maybe didn't work quite as well as they could have. Number one, the villains. You got 2 basic villains in this. You got Ghost, that you see in a lot of the trailers, played by John-Kamen, and then you got this other villain in the film played by Walton Goggins. And in neither case of either of these villains are either of them threatening at all. Neither one of them give you a sense of threat or dread. Neither one of them pose, and use the word again, a threat. In the case of Ghost, Ghost really presents herself more as an inconvenience, kind of as some speed bumps that Ant-Man and the Wasp have to get by en route to their overall goal. I won't talk about what the overall goal is, but she's really more of an inconvenience than anything else. Whereas the Walton Goggins character, the great Walton Goggins, one of the best character actors in the business right now, it's really just an annoyance, not just for Ant-Man and the Wasp, but really, quite frankly, to us as an audience. Now, at least in the case of Ghost, that's kind of Marvel getting back to their tried and true formula through villains, that their movies really aren't about their villains. I mean, look, Infinity War with Thanos notwithstanding, a lot of the MCU films only like to use their villains as plot devices to further along the hero's journey. And that's where the MCU films, for the most part, like to keep their attention on the heroes and on the hero's journey. In that sense, Ant-Man and the Wasp goes back to classic MCU storytelling and uses Ghost not so much as a big major character in the film, but rather as a plot device to help further along the hero's journey of Ant-Man and Wasp. And on that level, it actually does work. The Walton Goggins villain, on the other hand, you're pretty much going to forget 5 minutes after you leave the theater. Now, of course, you got Scott's buddies, Luis, Dave, and Kurt. And of course, Luis played by Michael Peña. His character is awesome. We'll get to him in a second. Unfortunately, in this film, Dave and Kurt, who had some great moments in the first Ant-Man, are really underutilized here. Now, granted, neither one of them were major players in the first film, but they're really relegated to afterthoughts in this film. Like, every time they do pop up, you're like, oh yeah, these guys exist. Speaking of underutilized characters, when I found out, like most of you guys, that the great Michelle Pfeiffer was going to be playing Janet, I was all excited about that. I thought that was going to be great. And quite frankly, it's really an underutilized character, especially when you're getting an actor of the caliber of a Michelle Pfeiffer to come in and play it. So yeah, a lot less Janet in this film that I was kind of hoping for, especially once again when you're bringing a performer like Michelle Pfeiffer to play her. Now, in the movie, we got this new character played by Randall Park. He's from Fresh Off the Boat, and for those of you who used to like to watch The Office, he plays Asian Jim. I love this guy, so I was really excited to see him pop up on screen. Basically, he plays an FBI agent who, for all intents and purposes, is Scott's parole officer. As you guys can tell from the trailer, as a result of the aftermath of Captain America Civil War, you know, Scott's on house arrest, and, you know, Randall Park is playing his kind of parole officer, an FBI agent. And unfortunately, where I was really looking forward to him being funny, and he does give a couple of laughs in the film, the character's treated like a bumbling idiot. This is supposed to be like a senior FBI kind of dude with a huge responsibility of kind of keeping an eye on a guy who's a de facto Avenger. And they really make him out to be this bumbling idiot. I don't mind silly. Silly can be really funny. And I don't mind humorous because you got Randall Park there, sure. But they just made him out to be kind of a bumbling idiot. And that took away a little bit of the weight of the movie for me. One last thing. One of the things that I loved about the first Ant-Man is that it was essentially a heist film. I'm a big sucker for a heist, and I felt like a lot of that movie, they planned out the heist, how they're going to break in, do this, and they follow the stage of it. Like, they follow a lot of the formula, at least in the third act of the film, of a good heist film. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, they kind of have a shadow of a heist going on, but they don't let you as the audience member, as an audience member, follow along with it. And it just kind of sort of seems random here and there with just random sort of things happening, and just trust us, at the end it all works out. So on that level, it didn't work as well for me as the first one did. Okay, that seems like a lot of negatives. Let me talk about some of the things that really, really work for me. The chemistry between the two leads, between Ant-Man and Wasp, it was good in the first one. They took it to another level here. You really felt like their relationship has evolved and the chemistry between them has evolved. The banter and the chat, like sometimes we were supposed to have like romantic interests and stuff like that. The banter and the chat between the two characters can seem forced or awkward or just isn't really clicking for you. For me in this movie, whenever there were scenes just involving Ant-Man and Wasp, I thought their dialogue with each other flowed perfectly. I felt like these were characters who were in sync with each other. Even when they were mad at each other, there was a real undeniable chemistry and a bond there, and it just was really worth watching every time they were on screen. And speaking of Wasp, wow, the character is great. Now, they allude in the first one that really she's the one who should have got the Ant-Man outfit in the first place. And the only reason that they didn't is because Pym didn't want her to be in danger. And that's why he went out and got Scott, because Scott's expendable sort of thing, right? They follow that up perfectly because she is a bona fide badass. The choreography and action in all of her fight scenes was fantastic. The way she carries herself in the role, you really believe this complete supreme confidence in the character. Wasp was one thing that I thought, because I like the first Ant-Man so much, I thought, you're going to have the Wasp in here. Is that going to take away some of the stuff that I love so much about Ant-Man? No, it was nothing but an addition to it, and it worked fantastic on that level. Staying on Ant-Man and Wasp, the creative use the filmmakers, Peyton Reed in this case, utilize the growing and the shrinking technology in so many different ways throughout this film, and very ways you wouldn't have thought that they would use, including one scene, I'm not going to give much away, where it's sort of half shrinks a little bit. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie. Plus, you see in the trailer, he becomes Giant Man a lot. Look, just the way they used the powers of shrinking and growing were creative, fresh. I felt from scene to scene, they never repeated it very much, and it was always something new they were giving you, and then really kept you on your toes. Much like the first Ant-Man, the humor is great in this. I think I prefer the humor a little bit more in the first one, granted, like several other things as well, but the humor works in this. Michael Peña, again, completely crushes it. You are grinning ear to ear every moment he's on screen, and yes, he does tell one of his great patented stories. And I think the thing that I appreciate most about Ant-Man and the Wasp is that it continues to demonstrate Marvel's ongoing commitment to changing levels. Look, once you've made as many movies in the MCU like they have, you're going to get tired of gotta save the world, gotta save the universe, gotta save the world, gotta save the galaxy, all that kind of stuff. What Marvel has always done is change gears. Like, you go from something like Infinity War trying to save the universe, and then you come into something like Ant-Man where it's just trying to save one person. In this case, it's Janet. In the first Ant-Man, it's like about protecting his daughter. And I like that they do that. You can't always be about saving the world. Sometimes you got to be about saving the neighborhood. Sometimes you got to be about saving the city. Sometimes you got to be just about saving one person. And the fact that the MCU knows that you don't have to rely on just gotta save the world every single time, and that they can change gears to make an entire movie all focused around saving one person and still be as compelling, and you still feel the same sense of stakes as you did in another movie trying to save the galaxy, that's impressive, and this movie does it well. So overall, I may have liked the first Ant-Man just a little bit better, but that does not stop Ant-Man and the Wasp from being a charming, fun, and entertaining ride all along the way. Two great characters, some new characters introduced maybe not working so well, but returning characters that you absolutely love. You gotta go out and check out Ant-Man and the Wasp. And like everybody else is gonna tell you, make sure you stay for the post-credit scenes. The question here is this: what did you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp? Have you been one of the lucky people across the country who's had a chance to see early screenings of the film? If so, what did you think? If not, what are your anticipation levels for this film? Are they pretty high? Are they pretty low? Are you more excited coming out of Infinity War? Are you like, Infinity War is so big, I'm not sure I have that much excitement for Ant-Man and the Wasp? Let me know what your expectation levels are in the comments section below. And listen, guys, while you're here, why don't you take a second, click on that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter, simply at John-Kamen. You can see that right there. That'll do it for me, guys. My name's John-Kamen. Thanks for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.